Hello everyone, my name is Ronen, that's Wadsworth. Welcome to Now Z Here. Today the game is try to stay out of the weird line of light. Because not for the first time, and very probably not for the last, I'm recording this late in the day. My schedule is about to be packed with rehearsals. I'm starting rehearsal for The Living Canvas, which is the show I'm taking part in November and December. And October is just going to be full of rehearsal 5 days a week. Now, recording these only takes me about 12 to 15 minutes, and I edit them on my phone, so I can pretty much edit on the fly and upload them to YouTube wherever I have a Wi-Fi connection. So I don't expect that video uploads will stop. We just might see a few more games of Avoid the Weird Light because I'm recording at an interesting time. Anyway, let's talk about names, particularly chosen names. I mean, in a sense, all trans people's names are chosen names, even if it was part of their name previously because they chose to retain that part of it. For example, I have 2 middle names. One of them was my middle name previous to when I legally changed it, and I kept it because it's a bit of a family tradition in where it came from, and I liked the idea of retaining some piece of my previous name. My last name also counts as a chosen name because I chose to take it on when I married my husband. But in terms of the other names, the ones that were taken not from a familial tradition or from a cultural tradition, like marriage. The first and sometimes middle names are, I think, among the most personal choices that a trans person makes. I actually don't think everyone sees it that way, which doesn't make them wrong. I just find it really interesting. I see every so often in these online communities people will post things like, which do you think is a better name, Ethan or Aaron? And that's always struck me a little bit as like, really? You're gonna crowdsource your name? I can more easily understand the viewpoint of people who choose the other gendered equivalent of their existing name and just sort of call it a day. But it's difficult for me to imagine a name not having some level of real personal importance. It's a part of me that was drawn to neo-paganism. I think of names. Names are so evocative, culturally and psychologically. A name has connotations that are built into our cultural subconscious. A complete name in itself is almost like a mantra or a magic spell. And so I saw the meanings of my names as incredibly important when I started out. And the 2 names I wound up choosing for my first and my first middle name were Ronen, Basil. Now, Ronen is spelled with an E. Ronen. A lot of people jump immediately to the, Japanese Ronin, samurai without a master. Look, I went through a phase where I was way into anime, but I wasn't gonna do that. The other spelling, the most popular that I've seen in my experience is Ronan, which has Irish origins and means, I believe, little seal. It used to irk me when people would spell my name with an A, but ever since I started reading the Raven Cycle, doesn't bother me so much. But my version, Ronen, is the Hebrew version of the name. And depending on which website you look at, which source you're getting your information from, it means a few different variations on the same thing. The themes that are generally associated with it: song and joy. And it can be just those 2 words sort of smashed together with each other. It could be song of joy. One of my favorite translations of the name that I ever saw was, he utters joyful sounds. HUZZAH! Pretty much like that. And when I started out on this journey of naming myself, I had already for a long time identified as someone who strived to bring joy. Strove? I knew that a big goal in my life was to bring joy to others. Additionally, I grew up very close, both geographically and socially, to my father's side of my family who are Jewish. So in choosing Ronen, I connected back to my own family's history, and I connected to a meaning which resonated very deeply for me personally. Basil also came from a couple of things. One, Basil of Baker Street. Basil of Baker Street, the great mouse detective, was one of the first characters I ever really identified with. And I would sort of role play him. I was, tiny me, putting on a raincoat, putting the movie on, and running around saying all his lines with him while I watched the movie. I also have really a lifetime long obsession with Sherlock Holmes in many forms. And of course, Basil Rathbone played Sherlock Holmes. So there was that. As a bonus, Basil means king. So not only do I kind of have this thing about like fancying myself some kind of fairy prince or some kind of royalty, but you take Ronen, Basil, king of joy, joy king. And that's where my names came from. So again, not every trans person goes through the same process, and there's as many reasons to pick the names that we pick as there are trans people in the world, but that's my story. And I was actually prompted to think about my names at rehearsal for the Living Canvas today. It was sort of our homework. Talk about your names, journal about your names. So, got me thinking about it. Thanks everybody for watching. Please like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to see what's coming up next. Also, visit my Patreon at patreon.com/masshysteriamusic to see the other projects I'm involved in. I'm Ronen. This is Wadsworth. Always be changing. Wadsworth, by the way, is an English name meaning roughly from the estate of Wad. That's not an exact meaning, but I just looked it up online and there's a whole bunch of long paragraph explanations of the history of how all these words came to be. That's basically it. The estate of Wad.